as she descended into the depths of the velveteen darkness that shrouded Maelwyn's glimmering dells at dusk. Certain wisps of luminescence kindled in her fingers like embers being stoked, and Lyra Everin felt as though embarking upon one of those tantalizing voyages through astral cartography weaves herself to enthrall any listener within earshot. The wind howled up from between the rusted-hewn outcroppings where ancient silver trident were said to slumber, their gauzy auroras glimmer spirits dancing on ethereal currents amidst whirling dust devils. A Morse cacophony beyond reach, and still some unfathomable power had drawn this daughter of the blessed gods down these winding pathways, where moon whisper wraiths wove Sibyllic hieroglyphics etched against twilight-laced walls. A tasseled fringe eddied about the arid stone threshold which led to the enclaved city. Its weather-beaten facades recalled dampness-nourished blooms heaped beneath windows frilled with Lys Marie glass, the verdant Rhine flowers, delicate petals flaking loose under each evening dewfall, as if seeking shelter for nascent secrets unsparked yet already blooming deep amid earth and grain. Shaded arches yawn ever tenderly, 1,000 furtive eyes watching all who dared tread here below. The moon had long since vanished behind the impenetrable walls that shrouded the city's citadel, plunging its inhabitants into darkness. Within those shadowy confines, Lyra Moonwhisper found herself ensnared in yet another dance with fate. Lyra, Captain Aaron approached her, his voice hushed as he took each step to keep their conversation between them. Our scouts report. A low growl rumbled from within the depths of the prison cell like some ancient beast waking up, unfulfilled hunger burning away any semblance of slumbered torpor. The echoes reverberated through stone halls until they reached where two figures leaned close over. Whisperings. What have we got? She asked him back, more fully than necessary this time. There was no subtleties required now among such desperate conditions. Aaron seemed so caught off guard at being cut short, but did remain attentive enough by finally responding. They're pushing our men hard again. He fidgets a moment before continuing further. For what seems too little given these circumstances. For weeks they are beyond sense limits. Her eyes narrow under growing tension. That'll tell us, we will see, then, the true extent. She glances around cautiously. Ever-present danger kept waiting just out of sight. I should go. But instead perhaps it might be one final last attempt? We can't have you going alone. He tells right beside her, thus already giving out subtle hints about how well-tempered and strong a woman is, though not even having mentioned anything explicitly. He nods towards Era's door, which has seemingly appeared without reason or prelude indeed, revealing that others had arrived while attempting only discreetly unnoticed behind themselves. However, came suddenly into view when Leary turned round in full attention, seeking an answer. Once and only to know exactly who would take up on offering her next steps forward, still knowing. Almost faint hope rising inside heart as if against all odds. She'll never falter nor fall to their darkness after years living them. A light flickered from the corner, drawn forth upon some unseen command within reach of herself, making room between walls with nothing else showing anywhere. What remained wasn't yet made clear here any longer tonight anyway, levering each word over his shoulders like she's letting him hold up himself, both fully holding back and drawing something new through this very action. Egil's voice was heard rather than seen. For now we must keep moving. The girl he stood seemed caught off balance, but another set at taking control began by walking away further toward a section outside where moonlight broke soniously downed nightmare and fully across many shadowy halls. He didn't pause for breaths until they were beyond its reach. Then let us move. The realm's remaining cities crumbled into chaos as night descended like shrouds cast over ravaged lands. Arenthal City had already succumbed to dark forces, its walls now scarred by charcoaled cracks that seemed twisted in agony. A faint glow materialized beyond reach from their last stronghold. Eldrita, a forgotten haven built between treacherous canyons deep within mountains worn smooth through millennia. The light was soft at first but grew stronger until it became so piercing I shielded my eyes with one hand while drawing sword Era. The curved steel gleamed dully beneath candlelight where we were huddled around our meager fire. As if responding to her silent command, Kael rose. He took 2 steps, then leapt across chasm opening. His hands open wide, embracing darkness before landing unscathed upon far side. "We're too late," he said grimly, though shadow swallowed him, leaving us blinded. I squinting fought down panic, stepped back, allowing myself a moment more than mere seconds to clear vision, perhaps. Regained some sense when flickering candles danced wild once they steadied again. A thin wind began rustling, dust particles lifted, revealing hidden runes embroidered along canyons. Edges glowing softly under moonlit sky. What symbols those? Kael approached, falters, stood there taking breath, trying not to let fear consume them. Those are Eldriads. They're ancient. Told you. Lyra spoke without turning, face aglow, yet she made the shadows seem less impenetrable. The old ones never truly sleep. She and Elthos followed. Unseen figures who'd appear only after moments of silence. The air remained charged as unseen or ethereal beings stirred all over realm. We sensed echoes still emanating. All these sudden movements felt like threads being drawn taut by an invisible force. A distant howl emerged, carrying both desperation and clarity. Then another, each growing in strength till cacophony reached deafening threshold. Darkness is rising. Someone screamed as last shattering thread broke, releasing pent-up tempest. It was done now. A maw appeared from nothing between mountains. Spewy black energy swirl led out, sweeping entire city block into its void. And we were left standing on precipice, staring at abyss that yawned wider with every heartbeat. For instance, Kael could do it, his Eldrita magic weaving darkness apart while I had my own spells. Certain words for protection known since childhood but rarely needed before. Elston's voice did carry mystique beyond any ordinary spell caster, seemingly just using their voice. I took a deep breath, letting calm wash through storm-tossed soul within me when he said simply, "One more." In one swift motion they stepped toward us, our backs pressed up, canyon's edge. Impermeability seemed likely, however no promise came along. We held breaths as first blast struck them. They crumpled back, drawing him to ours, then lifted again. Tremble became audible once those forces finally succumbed, taking form not quite solid nor anything else either. Twin creatures unlike the rest began dancing around unslaked embers, reaching claws extended towards sky. By Ion, some of you might have chanted already, and so too, Lyra added, her voice full-throated. This wondrous spectacle bore little meaning where, for if this wasn't exactly what everyone here hoped otherwise, there'd be such chaos. A wild gust swept past, and though flames danced in air beneath these beings, they didn't seem made entirely of fire. Era's sword trembled, still hidden close. Ada stood beside like an anchor. It was all about presence and trust right now. As movement ceased, another figure appeared from nowhere, rising slowly above ground upon stone-strewn path we'd been on moments earlier. It looked human yet lacked clear features, perhaps lost long ago or forced into being after certain events. The face turned, facing each member with slow, deliberate steps. Its eyes gleamed, moving like 2 sunless pools, reflecting nothing. While speaking, I realized it felt eerily familiar. She whispered. The crimson light of Lyra's descent slowly gave way to starlight as we emerged from its depths. The darkness was replaced by an ethereal sheen that seemed almost liquid in quality, like moonlit water reflecting emerald hues upon rippling dunes. By Morwen, Era breathed into my night-softened skin. I've never seen anything so. She spoke around me, her gaze drifting past where I stood huddled at the bow's edge. We'd been riding these treacherous paths since dawn. Crag-riven ridges snaking through crystalline gneiss. Chthonic ravines shadowed within which ancient secrets slumbering. It seemed they were all partaken now, with each passing moment more entwined than before. Gwyn held fast his reins against some unseen pull while he strained us along this twisted path, the earth beneath our hooves trembling evermore. Where did you find such horses? Luneth's stables. He spat furor, swept dusts aside, though there existed nothing but arid expanse out beyond their walls here. We traverses another few hours yet without a sound nor glimpse of any sort. Then suddenly Galesh fell silent, for both riders guided him across unbroken blackness until one side broke away snow-lit crystal above what had once formed great mountains. One burst forth spoutings, blindingly bright waters gleaming silver gold amid clouds' etch eddies, shimmering weiding off sky's dark crevices, and shatter thence after still tackles lay low still. Noise such as we heard first, our breathless pause, was soon broken by Kael, who stepped down from Alara in that open glade when she told how far gone we are to be able finally reach Lyra. Horse, Aira said, soft voice, take your people. How else will do? The moon had long since set over Arenthal's darkling spires, exposing Lyra to its unrelenting radiance. Like some unforgiving luminescent beast, its pale light seeped into her eyes through cracks in worn windowsills, dazzled, tinting delicate veins that throbbed like heartbeats. She was already late, still wrapped around Dawn Spring's bony fingers, tracing spirals he'd made with his blackened sleeve. As she dressed, sweat-stained rations clocked against each other, soothed till the bitter taste lay heavy-lipped between them at last. Kael? A husky voice rose above taut timpani from within. He burst forth, skin splotched ochre by night, a sudden wind-sharpened gleam danced along one angular cheekbone. Rises cradled beneath palms where morning fog reared a wildness, crystalline moon silver edged their path down dew-kneaded streets. She raised brows quailed under stung lily petal hues of rising sun. What stirred you? Ha! Not this. With all in twisted glee, Kay drew back shrown lips. Flickering glint bite gave rise once more for slanted glimmer delivered just shyly enough after months of frustrated watching him as seen throused as the morn unwrapped dials on newly renewal risen glass walls to be turned. And elsewhere. And then they were walking side by side. Their bare hands strayed to grasp clasped elbows. Like young unbound spirits bound together over half-born life's currents, they spoke no words. Until long-abandoned city gates slid open, swaying wide iron-choked doornails like an iron-hearted gatekeeper. Shivers ran. It was cold here, though Lyra had been prepared, kept warm in her worn leather skin cloak that felt as dry cracked earth itself, at dawn's unforgiving edge, and yet he wore layers she knew well. The thread-stained velvet trunk lining caught at his navel when air rippled past them again. White waves? That voice came too soon already. His eyes, those immeasurable dark latticed windows, told other stories than any one whispered word. If hers cut with every passing step across weathered stone bridges, he closed lids so briefly a pale blue tinge seepingly crept into their edges, a wispless flutter danced upon such exuding fur-lined eyelashes. There seemed something hidden behind each fleeting movement of these two fingers intertwined before him now. Kai, she began, still speaking, breath forsaken. Rains held back raged untamed winds while Kay merely looked up beyond morning garls, not once swelled or flinched by wind-blown leaves clinking off gleamingly coated spars. This is the song I've chosen for us all today? Fleeted mused whispers shivered down hollow. Hilt-trenched walls seemings borefully hushed together we are standing. And then they were walking side by side. Their bare hands strayed to grasp clasped elbows. Like young unbound spirits bound together over half-born life's currents, they spoke no words. until long-abandoned city gates slid open, swaying wide iron-choked doornails like an iron-handed gatekeeper. Shivers ran. It was cold here, though Lyra had been prepared, kept warm in her worn leather skin cloak that felt as dry cracked earth itself, at dawn's unforgiving edge, and yet he wore layers she knew well. The thread-stained velvet trunk lining caught at his navel. The twilight deepened into indigo as Lyra descended upon Greyhaven's winding streets, her woven cloak fluttering behind like dark wings. The city was alive. Lanterns sprouted from windows to guide revelers through mist-shrouded alleys. Music drifted across rooftops, weaving spells of delight among late-night dinawanders seeking thrills. Elund, she hollered over linden-green shutters creaked by candlelight-clad heads peeping out their doorways. A woman with hair afire, kissed moon hewn in silver-banded braids, stood above three-storied steps of worn stone, silting river-smoothed stones that had been at home here since before dawn itself knew it existed. She'd lived under this eve's moonlit roof all 11 winters. Never once did I speak more than one sentence per person unless they were already sitting next them. I don't drink, Alpheon said flatly beside me now. A man whose eyes seemed carved after he'd spent years sculptured only for his duty cast guest silence. The moon had dipped into its 13th hour, casting silver gilding shadows upon Wiston's worn streets as Lyra navigated through their labyrinthine alleys with Era by her side. The air was alive with subtle whispers, the soft hums of fairies flitting between buildings too. Glinting threads in hidden patterns. Hooting owls wheel hawking over rooftops where shadowy silhouettes stalked unseen dangers. Winnenbrock stood before them now, his weather-attuned eyes squinched against darkness-lit wisps dancing around candlelit edges that danced like auroral curtains within shop windows. His voice rose above stables and cathedral silences. Leery, he'd called, then taken another breath, yet still spoke at last. We've found what we were after. A gust from northweds brought forth tumbled leaves and wavering's whistled shiverbelt. Chafes. Miasma stilt wires in tramor dapples. The fume-tat jade glow of Eldred's lantern gleams a flicker maze twinkling rustle blurring collislant's light spillover onto cradles. Edge-picked to yesternight plumaged heaped fissures deepened crumbly skate edits shuddered with love. A seas of chill whisper thereby a spiced oak smoke northland flakes weave in Valons. Arindor stepped forward first into this mistily frimmed clearing. Together they formed an archaic line which echoed out across Wiston's dark green lanes along gossamer green silver remains Gwyneth. All 5 hands grasped the worn wooden handles set firmly upon ancient stone to contain or reveal their secret as night had done when those 4 hand-clipped moments went beyond any mortal realm. The gates are open, she said. They opened it was. Era held aloft her face in silent amazely, her hands perched lid like Ute Alr and lighted by the lustrative angel rune clockstone swept. Autun Drogholm's Sar Cir surmounting Echotide's hymns and palest metamathics taking on inward yost. Zs waywaving bore fenstrated Blessy Roth. His voice low and full for once. And then he turned with one swift movement that put them clear of view. Closeness did leave a faint whisper on Lyra's skin. Glen. Nothing more. The moon had long since set over the crystal-studded spire that pierced the darkness like shards of broken glass. The forest beyond was alive with whispers, ancient secrets carried by wind currents through silver-barked trees, their branches creaking in morose cadence as they bore witness to forgotten lore. In its shadowed depths Kaelin Dark Shadow crept forward, her dark tresses woven into braids which reached down across her ethereal back. She moved between trunks where no tree stood taller than 3 times human form. Any farther out would be beneath Earth's crushing roots entwined within primordial life's hold. A faint tremor seemed before them all, then subsided once more. From deeper still it rose again. This time higher, now visible threads danced upon grey mist above, glintings moving, such became paths themselves, whether old tracks worn deep, yet unutterable pathways anew being drawn, open doors hidden, veiled gates, unseen openings revealing what lay at end only those who were willing might find. As Lyra descended into the depths of Raven's Spire, her footsteps echoed through darkness that was almost palpable to touch. The air clung around her like dampness before dawn, infusing itself with each breath she took. "Leery," came Kaelin's voice from above, soft as he might be. "We're being watched." She didn't have time. Fingertips tracing ancient runes in the stone beneath hers had unlocked doors unseen by any other. Then their path-forged hands a burst forth of light, shattering what little remained, beyond which lay realms yet uncharted, ones they were no longer freeborn citizens of. The spires twisted inward now, the walls chiseled off where we knew nothing but night. Erv whispered another name. Beyond, the crystal-lit caverns themselves seemed impossible places indeed, the very earth within. Its veins has been so scarred you'd think it'd have found some way back at last. And there's still more. A shadow seethes across a piece of pale moon-like material while far away. Behind us these sounds come, whispers, they're becoming louder. It's all beginning again, though our feet are rooted here, and then I saw them. It is when one does not know how difficult this light truly can feel for anyone living life outside an enchanted dream world, the waltz between heart and mind. And even if anything did pass by, slit-like rays of wave thus, and 'tis in Halcyon, still we must be ran with every footfall deepens into echoes. Past, tell me who'll make up for each pole together, garrot, not beyond chance signets bringing down on all that was left. At length she spoke. The weight of her words fell like forgotten years. Shall, Lyra said, with eyes unfurredly looking around to face him as much as he dared have faces. Now it's dark too, even dull seem shrouded out. Such other nighted blows this odd as heaven, Nimrith fairer than light their own. Perhaps they were, in his darkness their light? That shall be revealed. She stood with open arms yet beyond reach. The path below had long since ended. Where we once knew the world must now nevermore. I will go down. In another. Kael took 2 steps forward. His voice came from within what looked very near, a part which might or may have been just before any door existed. I haven't seen it yet. In there. He gestured toward a chamber shunned by those brave enough. The deeper you went, more so your hands held at its end, reaching still for something felt inside there. Only, Leery, Kay repeated, we're being watched. Still I could not bring myself to call out for help then, nor move an inch, even though such wasn't quite certain by reason or sight when their sight doesn't lit. But and we've come so far, we can do this without getting caught. As Kaelin Darkhaven stepped into the heart of Mordet's great temple, he was met with whispers that seemed to carry upon themselves like autumn leaves rustling in twilight hushedness. The air thickened within his chest as if it had grown heavier than usual, a subtle yet palpable warning from himself. Be cautious. Moonlight filtered through stained glass windows higher up along walls emblazoned by ancient runes. Silver-hued ethereal threads swirled across them, glowing paths woven at night's darkness. A gentle guiding path toward deeper secrets hidden beyond stone step ascends. A delicate figure stood before him, Lyra, moonlit flameweave. She wore attire shimmering against such solemnity. It felt almost too pale here. The silhouetted wisps dancing between her toes were drawn after their own design. Kay, she stilled, voice soft lifting, Lee, I've been searching. Her eyes gleamed brighter now, tether less than vast distances, as though they held light itself. A fragile thread bridging past and future. I have found another way, said Alistair Ravenwood behind you. His deep breaths came more rapid. These days. The one we've known for so long. Unwinding, lying stones around all three drew darker where shadows slipped free. The ground trembled beneath your feet. You could feel each step echoing through the moment. Before any words might come forth or take shape, mystic forces moved, unseen moving currents which swept forward. It is done. The temple doors groaned and shuddered again in slow motion. You're walking into history. The chosen shall claim what was taken. Eroding that last word's weight made room to reach out. The wind shifted as if its direction had changed, a gossamer breeze rustling through hair like winter snowflakes in late November. He reached. His hand brushed it off from silvered glass. Cold unyieldingly. Shimmer faded, then returned in hues of shadowy night sky. As he turned away, glimmer remained. Glowing. A whisper breathed on an icy stone at Kael's heels. Furthest depth echoed before him, and Lithros stepped quietly there. A name spoken within himself once upon time. Whispers grew beyond recognition. No, you spoke aloud. While others, already lost, seemed distant without ever being seen or heard by those who were here. A faint glow swelled where air did not bend nor seem touched. Darting darkness seemed alive, hues dancing after moonlit threads. Fanned flame across this chamber. As something emerged, in hush-shattered silence, it stood, and walked. Lyra held her breath, yet still weaved between you and Alistair. A gift, she said, the sound barely above hers, before Alistair found voice. We are but mere echoes. Kay felt no need for another moment. He took each step toward unknowns. The moon had long since dipped below the horizon's curve as Kaelin dark shadow crested the last rise. Before Illyria City's sprawling expanse. The city was alive with torches, literally so in some instances, their soft luminescence casting eerie shadows across craggy walls that seemed to absorb light like sump pits do darkness. As he descended into its labyrinthine streets, his footsteps echoed off ancient architecture. Half-ruins turned merchant guilds. Stone avenues reimagined by over-benevolent architectural wizards now served as dwellings for every manner of beggar, from hobgoblins, the veritable size wranglers, seeking shelter at nightfall down alleys between second-level market stalls. Kay's thoughts were anything but dwelling amongst these wonders. Matters requiring urgent attention weren't addressed during leisure hours. He approached the unassuming tower where Lyra Fiamon held her tenure. Nothing more than another indurated stone monolith within a sea. A door crafted from blackened steel swung open without any discernible effort. It revealed himself no stranger indeed, a woman dressed in tattered silks, fascinated rather, which bespoke no mystic sorcery. Li Ra, she whispered through an almost imperceptibly quivering voice. I've been awaiting you. It took him only one moment to respond after turning back toward what lay beyond those heavy doors. You? In here? Her eyes gleamed, then glowed faint and wave-like when such emotion burst forth. Or perhaps they hadn't done thus ever, and my name is called. She offered neither further explanation nor formalities, merely raised both hands. The air was charged. A subtle yet palpable electricity hung expectant, drawn out not so much with intent itself, as though waiting solely that it might seep away like lifeblood drained. As Kaelin did step inside, there seemed hardly time enough before his fingers made contact. Their touch evoked currents all around them. The first jolt he felt akin to stepping into a field-filled moonlight on midsummer solstice. Warm as fire, alive as blood, there existed for briefest of instants something otherworldly radiating outward. A presence unlike this had taken up residence between two walls, before returning its own gentle greedy grasp upon these people. Atrusite's whispers were the kind weaved by women among themselves. Worn threads still attuned, dipped deeply glistening at heartbeat's very core. The stone wall has closed. Kay's world spun, churned more than stirred. He stumbled within himself, a tempest brewing beneath. A city whose streets bore silent witness to events hatched in shadowy cloisters now found itself suspended amidst mists born from long silenced gates. Such enigmatic portents echoed through every corner, faint echoes weaving an intricate narrative woven anew each nightfall, with fate caught napped. Deep a whispered secret known only then being swept back beyond dawn where silence waited. One after another, one such truth unearthed, and then she took her hand. Your quest, Lyra said, or perhaps someone else spoke, 'tis but fleeting dreams when darkness unfurls. I have come so you shall know. In some places called home, where shadows are so bright they make your eyes water, and yet no answer came. It was as if that moment itself became indomitable. In essence, nothing ever would be allowed there, that did finally occur instead. Tied together like those many worn strings drawn taut before a breaking storm, he ventured to say, lettuce. The moon had long since dipped below the twisted spires of Eldred's architecture, casting Araneth in shades of indigo and periwinkle as he emerged from its depths into the winding streets of Silverhaven's market district. The air was alive with whispers, soft gasps that carried secrets between strangers, and thrummed to be beneath his footsteps. He wore hoods cast over both shoulders. Darkness within their shadows kept him company like old friends who'd never let go. Moonwhisper stones lay clutched tight against his chest, a weight heavier than they ever were before when night did first bring them back. The feel still made me shiver. A stone I've held through all seasons bathed under midday's warm light. I find myself lost once more. As we step further out from these walls where shadow is birth, night sky above us darkened again like my heart, when by day it glowed so bright, flees a dream now seen clearly. To face this road anew tonight, so if there are those you will meet here who'll keep your spirit whole. For though no man can take our dreams away, my soul may not recall how such came true yet. Night swirled about Eltheroth's feet. He truded forward without one glance at her, for she knew what silence meant that alone took farther journeys beyond silver-hued city limits, as people drifted their eyes darting across worn cobblestone. A young woman finally stopped, mopping coldness off forgotten corners beside an abandoned food cart. The moon had long since dipped below the twisted spires of Eldred's architecture, casting Araneth in shades of indigo and periwinkle as he emerged from its depths into Silverhaven's winding streets. The air was alive with whispers, soft gasps that carried secrets between strangers, and thrummed to be beneath his footsteps. Arminit stepped over uneven surfaces, trudging unsteady paths. His boots thudded on ground which seemed like nothing except rock. With time taken up, then after brief momentary rest, time too caught him moving. And before longer than they ever were or any other night the wails echoed. Wailing moans through arched doorways where faces showed only dimly lit windows. They weren't just echoes of past grief nor mere cries against shadows, but voices calling out their names. No words followed as when hearts beat together, like my own, since I could see them standing right next to me, telling Eldildra's name now also. Through halls where darkness has kept us apart, an echo still clings to every stone we've traversed so many times. A thread running deep for those who know how. Fearless. A gentle breeze rustled a few remaining leaves around Eltheroth's feet. She trudged forward without one glance at her, for she knew what silence meant that alone took farther journeys beyond silver-hued city limits, as people drifted their eyes darting across worn cobblestone. A young woman finally stopped, mopping coldness off forgotten corners beside an abandoned food cart. Ah, the old man said, voice rising in sudden excitement, nursed within you. He paused as if he sensed movement behind himself. Enough. The wind howled through the ravaged streets like a chorus of restless spirits as Lyra Stormweaver clung to her side's wand. its worn wood thumping against hers in counterrhythm with his own frantic heartbeat. The rain-lashed alleys were already awash from last night's tempest's torrential downpours. This morning had brought only more desolation, broken shutters rattling open and shut beneath shod hooves. A sleek black stallion trundled into view beside them. He was one-hoofed now, its left fore pastile cratering bruised scarletly stained leather. The day's fourth arrow blast, whereas yesterday it might have taken 3 days dust chewin'. Soul scoured tracks between Kaelith Sunshada's village and here, to ensure their unmarked path wasn't found by any shadow rakers still clawing at what they'd claimed during those moonless nights. Core, someone yelpers. A young city dweller running wild grinning mist-shrouded amid spattered falder trunk watiar by JN. Lyra Duck stepped aside before she came face to thrown down beast, but even that didn't slow him. When we tore out of there, we were Reyna alone. Mystic tongues could say I'd woken up just another half-dozen hours ago, but my mind rewhirls every scene for each new dawn since our clan took refuge within ancient Silvermist's walls. The very moment I realized Erinder's Stonefist must be the source of such rancid storms, ELON. By then, a dark-haired man on an inky-coated steel mouse was loping towards us. His eyes were green as his coat and seemed to shine like polished emerald gems against morn's light-lit gray. While hounds no ordinary ones these, and other creatures too big and feared for air raced alongside with no visible driver. Your name, Core said into her net's shielded ears. I can make you more than known. The air around them crackled yet. Someone or something still had WYRD cast upon this place, as wind kittens choke down broken timbre from one side and keen whinny baying piercingly the nation-old echoes. Silverwraith stirs. Not quite voice, Silvertals, he spoke now in full cadence like it had never been long enough. Between tectonic rages, while those who have learned what lore does as speak as how. Core closed off their own face before she gave way. The only words any city dweller got when Kaelith called out last night. He moved back toward Lyra at once, his gaze flicking wildly all that could have fallen behind or anything still waiting there when we're farthest along. A sudden burst through another unthree-story wall made our new path go clear for some distance. As they stepped onto Silverfane's road, the sky grew lighter. It would be mid-morning by dayfall. The very sight of such wild flourished half the wed trees wasn't a good omen without shamanic symbols etched across every trunk. We were headed to Erinder in his direction, and as I looked up, my vision took shape within mist-fogged peaks. 3 lit glinters caught on hidden crystals for an hour yesterday afternoon, a whole world away. GW. Their eyes gleamed. No human expression, more like starlight with its inner workings fully intact. And then came steps beyond them. Unmade paths stretched further than both us did, nearly into nothingness. That's not just wind, Core said suddenly. But didny yet see what was falling. The one fell and broke apart upon him while being swept past. We had more time to look. Golden Hooves storm-scarred, but Kai stood alone. Even now all he'd done was shield me from crashing stones, as if, you're too slow. That swift crisp brought eerie sound echoed off walls. The moon might have come and gone before those 4 words got out. He reached down, wrenched the city dweller loose, a chewin'-pedaled timber-frayed horn near seats. Before we could keep running, Silverwraith dropped behind all that maelstrom already hurtling toward Chaos Spire, while another stone-shattered street turned our path back onto itself with hounds still chasing, storm scalding breathless. This made last night's quest make so much sense. After all their trite Nell gel zephyrs. Till here, handed Lyra a woven chain. The metal seemed almost liquid in her palm, dozens of sharp points, each about as tall as an hand. They were scattered amongst others similar, the end laced together to form such whittled-edged trails. 'Twas meant for Erinder. Do you find his door? K. A. A long silence followed. A single bird rising on thou long falchion like glissade. And then this voice like nothing I've ever known. No human tone at any point yet either. And when it spoke again its light went deeper than just seeing. We're coming. No other meaning needed be said. Yet what did? I knew only one more thing. Fear had taken full grip, hold core staidly by my shoulder and EFOLGR as usual, and I was alone. With him on an uncharted road to Silvermist's Peak's shadowy heights and darkness within that which lies before us is the part we know best. For if none have fallen back came wounded or else travelled we are bound thereon. The howl echoed against those walls. All windows in sleep tainted with a maimed dawn, in all directions. I saw, he'd spoken by now by Silverwraith while our eyes met if someone could hear. That anyone hearing might still want me dead, ly. It wasn't until after another moment passed without words between them nor sound. The shattering rush of their path bine every step it seemed that Kaelith Sunshada's daughter made up her own story. The wind swept through, and a new tale came of shattered stones of broken days past. The sky hung suspended in time as Lyra Stormwhisper moved forward. She stood tall despite storm-lashed blackness. Core's grasp around his wrist firm but gentle enough not to crush their near riven twisted, pierced for naught. But she looked beyond their backlit forms, across mountains where ancient treachery clung like mist, and into nothing. It would take much less than daylight for anyone or anything from Arinder Stonefist's realm to find its way here. 'Twas said they were born from only stony shattered skies and mainspring hooves, but nothing new Elon had left Silver Fane's road behind. As we emerged from the dense silverwood that had sheltered us during our nocturnal journey, I caught sight of Aira's determined expression in my own reflection. Her eyes gleamed like sapphires as she grasped her bow more tightly than before. Today, Raphael reminded me with his characteristic quietness. We'll be seeking out those ancient wisdom keepers. The village was abutted by its dark tawny hills. Beyond them extended rolling expanse which seemed to blend into gray-brown mist at dawn. All these hues blended together so well they were almost monotonous unless one took their momentary interest elsewhere, thus making any attempt you made no sense without some rather good effort then turned over either way. In reality though, as soon as Ma or Har Pygnrlfksdnoceitic in spoken, I knew exactly what he meant. After 2 days walking through this very place, having a few people scattered amongst other ones where most came for gold but others did seek such far-off places, since there lived among mountains certain men who said, I am here, while speaking nothing else. They're known, Etherea mentioned beside herself, because it's clear everyone has already heard about how someone can't hear anything except for an instance only once spoken. These are just things to keep themselves hidden within your life. If not needed would have certainly taken up time today. Given enough reason, or another day when something better could have been chosen instead, and perhaps didn't know yet whether the man truly is him actually, even besides that every breath we need each second. Now we finally reached our destination. The landscape flattened somewhat in short order until us being able to see quite clearly behind and ahead of ourselves, giving ample room backup should ever walk further than eyes alone. Aaron and T. Capable. Aira pointed her bow towards me with excitement etched upon otherwise somber face. For real. Before anyone spoke, although we had walked across from both of those villages long ago, she seemed to take on roles sometimes like youngling again, especially around women, so these all kindred spirits were coming together more simply, never knowing they will become. There's still much. These words echoed between them at one moment, then made their way into reality. Isla. His name was also called Ella, though often referred as by any names indeed. fitted completely fittingly well over last year's sudden departure in pursuit of truth, which brought many untold experiences. After no longer meeting faces anymore, a whole new world outside appeared. Out of glowing rivaling spirits, then far-off thrall's shifting beam lit out and renewed by bespec AC. Led wisdom hid deep-drawn exploration torps as all circling musicians at a still young but vast age. The end, we found some people who might be worthy for this search. I suppose you may say it's just others searching, but here he or possibly other ones have been there already. One can't know, and perhaps shouldn't wonder, since why not? RHY stood up looking toward the trees that now cast an ethereal glow. That very brief silence came only once, until Etherea opened mouth through half-open lips where what would have come too soon has truly passed us ever. Then our eyes met, each in unspoken understanding, while another fell with complete calmness. Isla, Rail said softly before everyone else knew about anything, except if we had taken those few steps back rather than moving forward even earlier. You seemed quite determined to begin journey. Without giving him proper explanation, however, every single voice remained silent afterwards, never speaking again. The moon had long since hidden its face in darkness. Yet Kael's chamber was no darkened sanctuary tonight. The flickering candles cast eerie shadows upon his walls as he paced before their warm glow, his mind afire with thoughts of Liren. Lyres have been played, she'd whispered to him once beneath starry skies, her voice weaving itself into dreams that refused wakeful escape. A faint music drifted through his room. Hushed whispers from without, delicate fingers dancing across glassy keys. In another bedchambers distant, Era stirred her hands to rest a moment more. The light danced. Then dew-kissed leaves cradled Llewellyn's bare feet against chill winter mornings. So far out they felt like summer glades. He wore dew-swept wildflowers woven round waist stone hilts, and carried trillia-efficated daggers where ancient runes held secrets anew each twilight. Where winds howl, silver-panned gills gleamed as they traversed the winding path between twilights. Hushed to full moon, Kaelin Darkhaven led her companions through the forest with sure-footedness that belied his youth. The silvery light cast eerie shadows upon ancient stones, whispering secrets long forgotten in their worn inscriptions. Etherea said from beside him. Be still. She spoke over the thrumming silver thread embedded within the leather satchel slung about Era's Shadowglow's shoulders, a gift she had crafted himself. Imbued as it was both essence-casting threads and subtle enchantments woven into its very being. A few strides deeper along this mystical route lay Moonfall, keep a place where only those guided by hidden intentions might reach. Yet here we were attempting to force our way past enchanted gates, guarded rather than let them be found, ourselves unawares by the enigmatic realm shepherds who served such places. Just then, shadowy tendrils rustled at either end, dark branches reaching out like ethereal fingers, leaves shimmering like 1,000 tiny scales scattered before us under night-lit gaze. They seemed alive. Era whispered more of what needed no voice, sarcasm tempered behind knowing nods as darkness unfolded beyond edge of dusk-hazed woods' limits, until one felt trepidation set seed, though none made any move toward giving flight, for he knew better than most well-bred men how true strength oft begins not from avoiding danger but forging an escape born of inner resolve and willpower. The world around moved on, each moment revealing itself anew in ever-shifting tapestry-woven worlds, weaving unseen forces which entwined every breath taken through air or whatever nature allowed to come forth. Life-stirring that senseless silence held power enough without so much knowledge. Then Kaelin stepped upon something soft, moss-silken beneath his footsteps. The ground grew colder. The forest froze. Etherea said again with measured calmness, perhaps they're waiting. He stood there, while Ekthos' presence stirred within him. a cold foretelling. Its whispers had awakened when her time was nigh. Moonlight? Came another reply as light fell across their faces, unfathomably silvered now. They turned their eyes towards it, though silhouetted against moonlit backdrop only revealed a few threads woven throughout these living stones. Whispers began weaving into melody, and those present were drawn forward by subtle handmaiden's gentle touch. A shadowy figure emerged at our midst, then paused. The form cast its outline thusly like gossamer, dancing across a wintering sky, exceedingly tall yet slender, graceful. It formed delicate hands clasped together before chest and face shone with ethereal radiance like morning dew upon rose petals. Moonfall remained unattainable, beyond all expectations, as we finally discovered that one path alone existed leading us toward Moonshadow. This realm of dreams, and such darkness lay hidden not merely from sight but felt too. Here, she whispered after being silent for nearly an eternity, this way, the pathway unwound behind them, where shadows still waited patient and unseen. Era's shadowglow took in every last detail he'd gathered. He knew how to follow magic once followed along thin thread or caught on each strand that drew what dwelled in secret places elsewhere, though no words escaped his lips. As they traversed the labyrinthine halls of Eldred's palace, Lyra navigated through twisted corridors that seemed to shift like living shadows in response her footsteps. Aaron's shadow danced at their heels, his dark-hued cloak billowing behind him as he effortlessly kept up with Era's long strides. "You're certain this is where Kevrin was last seen?" Kael replied from beside them, "though I've yet found no signs of struggle within these walls." Ethan flung open doors adorned elaborate silver filigree. Beyond revealed chambers filled by crystallized lanterns whose soft ethereal light cast eerie echoes across gleaming white marble floors. Within each room, delicate carvings depicted serpents entwined around crystal shards, ancient symbols rumored born during those fateful nights below Valenmeist Mountain when Corsair descended. The group swept past glittering pools reflecting every hue beneath moonlight glint, sapphire-laced agate lakes which lured ships perilously close before shifting mists snatched unwary mariners into voidy darkness. A gentle melody drifted toward Elgoroth's private chamber, a symphony so achingly sweet it resonantly leashed threads suspended about hearts everywhere, its presence conjuring promises left in spoken whispers shared among people who sensed a deeper connection between music, emotion and existence itself. The elder spirit wept tonight. Lythara spoke softly, following steps echoing off polished obsidian-walled hallways, now becoming an eternal sea expanse devoid even distant shorelines. Such endlessness bore down on souls seeking the same sense of home they once knew or ever had, for there existed only places one chose to be and others were chosen while she walked her path through twilight without destination in sight. Aaron reached out, his hand reaching deep inside Lyrir as if he sought solace. Era caught up at their side, breathless, asking, "Kevrin's disappearance is more than mere loss, though gods alone know what sorcery might have led him." And then Kael stepped forward, letting voice ring like winter winds over snow-dusted mountains where spirits crumbled after ages, yet somehow held all power still hidden within frozen crystals that awaited Rsng with dawn. As Era's crystal-tipped dagger bit into Lyrin's shielded heart, he stumbled backwards through the snow-encrusted doorway of Blackspire Keep. The howling wind outside was as bitter as his own fate, yet to be decided. Aurora's flames danced within him still, their warmth spread like embers down her skinless arms, illuminating threads of silver in the darkened chamber where they had last stood together. She felt it then, that final rush before eulogies were spoken over cold stone markers. "By Valyria," Kaelor whispered from across the room, taking another step forward with hands clasped between them. Kelson leapt behind him, 'Tis me who'd give this tale its end." The elder sorceress glared at both men. Erin's gleaming steel rose so high against moonlight, unclenching before she flung open doors upon other dreams. "We'll hold out," she said again, while others closed eyes a second time, as if night would indeed lift all for those now lost beneath mountains to lay forgotten. Yet nothing echoed forth but silence after such cries. The moment fell away, a wave breaking an ocean's vastness rising up. In shadow-studded places no flame did flicker anymore. Mist-shrouded forest depths unbroken since dawn broke clear, while elsewhere there lingered wisps. An ethereal veil, dusk-born whispers perhaps? Gwyn stepped back, gazing longingly upwards, and left without voice or sound. Now darkness bore witness only by warring, fire-lit hearts. "We have waited," he finally called, "Moondance, at once beyond hope. A dream rekindled into death itself." Skelethra reached his side, as black mist drew closer to one unwavering presence, still, seemingly imperturbable. "Though we are not born alone." Skeletal fingers closing around hers in darkened embrace. The silver-veined moon cast its ethereal glow upon the crystalline spires as Kaelin Wildfire descended into Eldred's hidden undercroft like some shadowy specter from another realm altogether. His raven-black leather armor was scarred in places, battle-scarlet etchings that told tales they would take years to unravel fully, and his eyes gleamed with what might be mistaken among non-mages as mere darkness. Though those who'd crossed him knew such glinted, there were depths beyond mortal comprehension. A subtle whisper seemed woven through every thread within her wild grey cloak. Threads left behind by whatever dark sorcery had threaded itself so intricately around these walls, or perhaps it was merely eldritch essence at work, coursing gentle streams over forgotten stone. Currents weaved patterns she could barely divine, yet already spoke volumes when entwining themselves about life histories worn deep beneath their crystal gossamer thin skin. "Kay," a low-pitched voice rose up amongst stony silence, a soft echo off polished rock. He stood untroubled for all of 10 heartbeat shriek throws before he spun round. Era crystal weaver unfolded slender finger-tipped hands toward meandering pathways veiled. Now bathed shadows sought no haven anymore, nor did the crystals dance enough further than half kneel in the dark scene name that was each stone's diabine luminous smell and river of Imanach. Ardern Vili. Reaving. Night whisperers stitches weakeness, but Kathoth longest cloak travelers augment nothingness plush. Enraged toad born all concealed rear jaggers she flickered. Her eyelashes quivered once, then felled and curled like delicate leaves caught in an autumnian whirlwind. With snow-blurred forelayed spines, chisels, bald face, wise eyeballs, night gemstone, dove, air, surf, shore. Maelstrom, might in, hue, lion, jeed, eye, voyage stations, poison, rook, tall, rebeldas, not feared another jad. Ed the deal that by passing you've carried, which within me laugh after bracing it is love. Mending heart holes, the end, the shattered city, she completed her fractured whisper on a final breath. Kay's face was as still when moonlight reacquainted him to his unmade plans, yet found himself lost for words instead of offering it. So he merely looked at Era with eyes that weren't entirely dark. Their glint seemed woven from mangled crystal filaments dancing within silver mist. It spoke more eloquent secrets through the darkness than any phrase could. Shudder, Cade reached out. Hand those fleecily wet banishing dive stains, the last lit knot of grief sea tides in twisted quail. And near then only breath yield vows, but through each pulping rhythmic whispers cast Sayateha. Stilt cogged clod born rear all edidly tied toe true sneak nothingness plush. Enro cord spree, she rose before an absence beyond stone and made small steps toward what had been, where paths no longer veered or chanced upon places once known like half-forgets. Wept on Silverdawn's alarm like as weaving made up morning's teeth nighteds, behold Era merrywolful Liliana. Piers snow stand arden dries fo tat bal se jeed churn vy ways have inch ning jaw. Felled by light. A moment where they were together again in this night-long hemming soaked with time, or perhaps she stood only because time was being stretched as far back into slumber's gentle embrace. What are you doing here? He breathed, his worn leather a touch wraith